Yes, it's John G. Sutton. Tales from the Jails. Right, today I'm going to talk about some strange goings on at Her Majesty's Prison at Wormwood Scrubs in London when I was there. I'll talk a little bit. There's one particular guy, well, I won't give you his name, but we call him Windy, yeah? And I was going home one night under the underpass under the Western Avenue, whatever it was called, the big circular road that is in London, just outside the Scrubs, on my way back to my quarters where I lived. Quarters being a flat provided by the Home Office. And as I went under the underpass, there in the underpass was a guy with a packet of Benson and Hedges in his hand, and he was holding the packet of Benson and Hedges to his ear, and he was saying, "Yes, yeah, are you receiving me? I've got that, yeah." Talking to the cigarettes, you see. I thought, this guy's definitely weird, and I recognised him as being one of the staff at the Scrubs. His name, I knew him as Windy, you see. I won't tell you his name, but that was his nickname, Windy. Anyway, I was on duty in C Wing and we got an alarm call. Staff required in B Wing, which was the postal allocation unit inside the Scrubs. And we went running in, and it turned out that an officer had barricaded himself into a stock room, where they kept the brushes and the mops. And he barricaded himself in there with three postal boys. Now, what he was doing with these postal boys, we were unsure, but he locked himself in and wouldn't come out. Seriously, he'd obviously gone mad. So we decided we'd persuade him to come out. And we started battering at the door, which we were determined to break the door down, but he eventually unlocked it and allowed the three postal boys to come out, who were quite traumatized. And the man inside was Windy, yeah? He'd been in charge of the cleaning party around the prison, using the postal boys, and he'd taken them captive and held them into what he'd done with them. I believe he'd abused them, sexually abused them. But anyway, we never saw Windy again. He was taken away to a psychiatric unit. That was just one of the staff. The other guy that I've previously told you about, my friend John, Big John. Yeah, we got an alarm call one day. It was the halfway house outside the prison. We had to go in there. They were fighting. And it just so happened that me and John were the first two in there. And there were inmates inside the halfway house, like a hostel, where inmates were allowed, at the end of their long sentences, allowed to stay in the hostel, yeah, and work in London. So me and John got in, they were fighting there, so what would you do? I mean, you'd probably try and get the ringleaders out. No, John didn't. He said to me, "Wait there, Captain." He always called people Captain, when there was going to be trouble. Yeah, "Wait there, Captain." Went over to the television set. They had a big television. He picked the television set up, threw the television into the middle of the room. It fell on the floor, bash, splattered all over the place. Then all the inmates stopped. Then he went over to the pool table, upended the pool table, and was about to snap all the legs off when the inmates started screaming, "No, don't do that, don't do it." Yeah. He said, "Well, you started it." So that was the end of the riot. That was the end of the fighting, yeah. John got called up about that. I didn't see anything, of course. They asked me, I said, "No, I was just behind John when it came in. I don't think John would do that." Yeah, seriously, strange place. Yeah, Wormwood Scrubs. Another incident at Wormwood Scrubs involving my friend John. He had a boat, only a little boat, but it had an outboard motor, yeah. And this outboard motor wasn't working properly, so he dismantled it from the boat. and brought it to he had a little flat where he was a single officer, you see, and he had a little flat inside the units at Wormwood Scrubs. If you're ever going down Duquesne Road, yeah, you look on the left, you'll see housing. Yeah, that in 1975, that was where the staff, single staff, had allocated rooms. So John decided he was going to fix this motor, and to test it, believe this or not, he filled the bath up in his flat, yeah, and started after he'd serviced it, started the electric motor. It was not electric, it was petrol driven, yeah, but he started it with one of them things you pull, you know, and it kicked up, and he put it in the bath to test it. But it was so powerful, this motor, that it quickly got out of hand. And as it was out of hand, this electric motor, John, instead of doing something about it, he left it, shut the door, and went into the club, and the prison club. I had about 4 or 5 pints of Guinness and went back, by which time his outboard motor had ripped the bath to bits and buried itself into the wall leading into the next flat. So it was halfway through, because the rotating blades at the back had chomped the bath to bits and gone through the wall into the next apartment, and his outboard motor was half in his flat and half in somebody else's. Yeah, John, he was a case, was John. You didn't want to get on the wrong side of him, because and he was an Irishman, you know, and he hated being called Paddy. So we had a new member of staff join Sea Wing, who was a bit of a Jack the Lad, you know. So I said to him, listen, I said, you're working on the twos today. I said, you'll be working with Paddy. He said, oh, who the hell's Paddy? I said, that guy up there. I said, just say, hiya, Paddy, and join him, you know. So this guy didn't realise that John was a maniac. He went up the stairs, up the metal stairs, and introduced himself to John, saying, hello, Paddy, how are you doing? The next thing we heard was this bang, bang, crackle, bang. John had picked him up and thrown him down the stairs. Eh? Wormwood Scrubs, Big John. Where is he now? The last I heard of Big John, he was in Dublin, working at Mountjoy Jail, enjoying his personal reign of terror. Seriously, that's the last I heard of him. I was there one day, and they keep putting me working with John because he was dangerous, you see, but I didn't mind. And I was working with him one day, and he got a phone call. He went down, took the phone call, yeah, in the office, the wing office. Never said nothing to me. He just walked out the jail, threw his hat down, keys in, went to Heathrow Airport, still in his uniform, apart from his hat, yeah, and he'd obviously taken his lapels off, yeah. Flew to Ireland, and apparently the next door neighbour to his mother had built a wall between his mother's house and her house, and she didn't like this wall. So John flew back to Ireland, went to his mother's house, got a great big lump hammer, demolished the wall, knocked the wall flat, and when the neighbour came out to complain about him damaging the wall, John flattened him as well. Then he came back, went to the airport, flew back to London, yeah, and that was all in one day. Tell you, he was a character. John, where are you now, mate? We're all getting older, aren't we? This is Tales from the Jails. We haven't had a song today. I haven't had any complaints about the last one I did, Galway Bay. So anyway, if you want a song, send a request in, and I will murder it for you. John G. Sutton, Tales from the Jails. Do subscribe, yeah? See you soon.